out of the spirit of April Fools, someone stole my couch, and they stole Twiggy. April Fools as a concept has always been quite fascinating for me. You pull some kind of innocuous prank on somebody, you go, haha, April Fools, you watch their reaction, and then that's just the end of it, and life moves on. Hope my couch comes back. But what happens when you pull a practical joke that's so great, so brilliant, it continues to fool people over 25 years later, and it may not even fool you in the way that you are thinking? Today we are going to talk about the very strange and simultaneously very underground story of a product called Microsoft Coffee. On April Fool's Day of 1996, this mysterious product started appearing on shelves in electronic stores all around the Seattle, Washington area. It's important to keep in mind that this is during the infancy of the World Wide Web and during the day of physical media. If you want to buy computer software, if you wanted to go online, you first had to buy a copy of it at the store. So, varieties of Microsoft programs popping up everywhere, and the company constantly trying new things, was not exactly unusual. And so, Microsoft Coffee would have been the perfect needle in the haystack. According to legend, a group of Microsoft employees created a very convincing set of boxes labeled, of course, Microsoft Coffee, and snuck them into stores all around the city. When customers tried buying it, naturally the payment would not get processed properly, leaving them confused as well as store managers confused, because of course they didn't remember seeing the product when they were doing inventory. Shortly after, the incidents were covered by Seattle News before reaching the internet. And Microsoft was not happy about this, and so they decided to ban any future pranks related to the company that did not get approved through them first. Today, Microsoft Coffee remains an interesting piece of internet folklore surrounding a harmless and silly prank, but it may go even deeper than that. There is some speculation that the story itself may not even be real. What's interesting is that no online articles, news reports, or any kind of archived media pertaining to Microsoft Coffee currently exists, prior to a 2021 Medium article written by one of the people allegedly involved, which links to the website microsoftcoffee.org. In fact, it seems that all the evidence of this event seems to come from the same source, and none of these posts were made prior to 2021. And perhaps that alone would be enough to rule this out as some kind of silly hoax. But the evidence provided does seem to be convincing, a little too convincing. And today, we're gonna dive right in. Was Microsoft Coffee an event whose paper trails just did not survive the test of time? Or is it the ultimate April Fool's prank? Well, I've always been more of a tea guy myself. Oh no, no! Have you ever wanted to build your very own website, but just felt discouraged at how complicated it all is? Well, fear not, because Squarespace is here to help you with that. Squarespace is a fun and easy-to-use website builder that lets anyone build a great web page without needing any proficient experience. Whether you're starting a business or a personal blog, Squarespace is for anyone and for anything. If you're unsure of where to start with your website, they offer a variety of templates that you can choose from. And just from filling out a quick little questionnaire, Squarespace will even recommend templates based on how you answered. And as you're piecing everything together, you can upload all of your files to the asset library. You no longer have to worry about losing track of all your files, and you can access them anywhere. And switching back and forth between different files is seamless. What I especially love, given what I do, is that you can create and harbor your own community within your website. Squarespace's commenting system allows for your visitors to interact with posts and with each other, and including site-wide moderation systems. Creating a website has never been easier, and if you go to squarespace.com/nationsquid, you can get a 10% discount on your first website or domain name purchase. So download Squarespace. Your website's potential is no longer four-sided. Now, before we get into these strange things about this story, let's go ahead and hypothesize why Microsoft would even think to create a product like this in the first place. I mean, Why Microsoft Coffee? Isn't the name alone ridiculous enough? Well, first we need to take a look at Microsoft's marketing strategy at the time. The 90s were a time where computers were just getting mainstream, reaching everyday people like you and me. Computers were no longer just in office buildings. They were now in family households, and children were using them. But how did it get to this point? Luckily, I've made a whole bunch of videos about that, but in short, the simple answer is that all these tech companies took computers and presented them in ways that were both easy to understand and could be more applicable to real life. And Microsoft was a shining example of this. Windows 95 was a massive success in this regard, because it showed using a computer just required clicking the Start button. Quite revolutionary. Microsoft was way ahead of the curve of taking these intimidating machines that horrified Michael Ginsberg and turning them into chill dudes like you and me. But there were times where this approach fell short. Programs like Microsoft Bob took this too far and felt patronizing to the user, and Clippy was just annoying and distracting, even though both these things were in the spirit of making computers more relatable. And Microsoft Coffee is somewhat a parody of this. Much like a dog or recycle bin, you know what else is a familiar everyday object? A cup of coffee, of course. So naturally, this would blend right into all of Microsoft's experimental projects. And this was around the time that Starbucks was becoming popular. And this was also Seattle, reinforcing that goal of relatability even further. It's even more fitting in that the programming language Java was a little less than a year old at this time. And according to the people behind it, this was very much intentional. In addition to poking fun at Microsoft's marketing strategy, they were also mocking their imitation strategy. Many critics of Microsoft at the time felt that the company was just creating derivative, secondhand versions of already popular products. This was even a somewhat common critique about Windows. I mean, of course they would try to find a way to capitalize off the success of Microsoft Java. This was a very context-heavy, sophisticated joke that these employees put together, but admittedly didn't think much about the potential consequences. I mean, should you really make fun of the company that employs you? But this can't just be a headline in the newspaper, they thought. Instead, this should be a physical product that someone can hold and show on TV. And so they spent a couple weeks putting this all together. This went from creating very Microsoft X graphics on the box, adding fake barcodes, even shrink wrapping them, to listing out what specific stores they were going to place these fake boxes at. This included the Egghead software store in downtown Seattle, as well as regular retail stores around the area like Office Depot. But would placing these boxes on shelves and generating word of mouth be enough to reach the news? No. So they went ahead and made a press release pretending to be Microsoft, talking about all the features of Microsoft Coffee, and sent them out to the local news stations. And according to the pranksters, these news reports were enough to create buzz, and so the prank was now real. There were now people running to the stores attempting to get their hands on a box and trying to buy them with these fake barcodes. Then, shortly after, Microsoft would come forward and state that they had absolutely no involvement in this, but would disclose that they were in fact working on a product similar to Java. And Microsoft was not happy, allegedly sending out a company-wide memo that Microsoft's legal department would investigate who was responsible, and that Bill Gates himself was not amused. And so everyone involved just kept their mouths shut, and reasonably so. Fortunately, nothing ever came of this situation, and Microsoft just kind of let it slide and forgot about it. But unfortunately, so did everyone else. Because this all happened so early on into the World Wide Web's history and was a pretty local incident, pretty much no copies or archives about the story currently survive, at least according to those involved. And that's where I think this gets interesting. What if this entire story about an April Fool's prank is an April Fool's prank in of itself? I did some Google searching for Microsoft Coffee and restricted it to a certain set of dates. And sure enough, nothing about the story showed up. But then again, they made it clear that records of this did not survive the internet. So I am going to give it that benefit of the doubt. But it is strange that over the next 25 years, no one ever at least posted on a message thread about it, looking back at it retrospectively, until one of the pranksters themselves came forward in 2021. But that's just conjecture at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter. So I went ahead and searched for Microsoft Coffee on newspapers.com, a website containing digital scans of almost every newspaper in the United States ever printed over the past 300 years. And sure enough, nothing. Now, as we discussed, this alone would normally be a dead giveaway that such a story is fake. Images like this could be photoshopped, and the internet is just too big. There's no way at least one person wouldn't have talked about it after all this time. But there was one piece of evidence that this user provided that I just could not get out of my head. It is a video recording of an alleged news segment talking about the story, uploaded by user Mike Coffey, the creator of the website and Medium article. And you have to keep in mind that this is 2021, before AI really got big and became a part of everyday life. Faking footage like this by hand is not easy. In some respects, without the help of artificial intelligence, it may even be impossible. This clip does not have the oversight and sloppiness that internet hoaxes typically do. This 50-second clip checks all the boxes for a quintessential 90s news broadcast. Even just the little things, like the vernacular, the phonetic way people talked back then, the way the word internet is being grammatically used in a sentence, screams 1990s.
There was a hoax spread by internet
This is something that even Hollywood standard period pieces often fail to get right. It almost always feels like imitation rather than authenticity. I do not get those vibes at all from this video. And the fact that the news anchor is even interacting with the box adds a whole level of credibility to it. If this was a skit filmed in 2021 and was edited to appear like it was from the 90s, they would have done a perfect job. But what's even crazier is that these were real journalists that were in fact around at the time, which would kind of eliminate that possibility. Well, what if this is some kind of Forrest Gump levels of editing, where lips were meticulously superimposed over the news anchor's face, and some kind of deepfake software of the news anchor's voice was made to do the talking?
Congratulations. How do you feel?
I gotta pay.
I believe he said he had to go pee.
Well, it is interesting that this clip is recorded off a TV screen, rather than the tape just being ripped digitally and uploaded straight to YouTube. And it's also interesting that these VHS artifacts keep popping up that conveniently hide parts of the video where some important information is being discussed. This approach would help mask things that may give away that it was in fact edited, but if you look closely, even during the VHS distortion, that man is saying the words Microsoft Coffee.
The boxes of Microsoft Coffee.
Even if this were some kind of deepfake with the voices, the inflection is just too realistic, even by AI standards. And again, they're actually holding the box and interacting with it. We're talking about some extremely sophisticated, well-researched, and detailed editing here. But the fact that no other records prior to this website currently exist is also very jarring, and further adds so much mystery to this entire story. And this is when Occam's razor has to come into question. Is this the work of an incredibly talented and well-informed hoaxer who is dedicated to creating arguably the most interesting practical joke of all time? Or was this just some kind of prank that happened in the 90s that the entire world just ended up forgetting about? But is that even a thing? Can a story that ends up on the news just completely disappear off the face of the earth? Well, I believe that it can. When I was just a wee lad, I was in my house eating some goldfish crackers and it was late at night. Then, out of nowhere, my mom and dad run into the house and starts yelling to me and my siblings, "Guys, come out here now. There is a UFO outside." We ran outside and I looked up at the sky and saw easily one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my entire life. There was this huge white cloud, and in the middle of it was almost like a black hole. Picture the inside of the opening to a spiral tube slide. The very next day, the event was covered in the local news. My brother even brought the newspaper to school. At the time, I lived in the Northridge, Granada Hills area, a suburban part of the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, California. This would have been around 2004 to 2005, if my memory is correct. But despite all of that, and despite this event ending up on the news, I can't find anything about it online. No articles, no newspaper archives, no message threads, Los Angeles weather reports, nothing. And keep in mind, the internet was already long popular at that time. Surely there would have been at least one person who posted about it. I started wondering to myself if the whole thing was just a dream, but I asked one of my siblings about it recently, and they confirmed that it was true and that they also remember it. I've even made posts about it on my channel, and no one else seems to know what I'm talking about. But I remember it. I was there. My family remembers it. But as far as the internet and the rest of the world is concerned, it might as well be something that never really happened. What if Microsoft Coffee suffered the same fate as my UFO story? And the only way we can preserve at least some of its existence is by coming forward and sharing a story from someone who was actually there to experience it. Either way, until more information comes out about it, we are never going to truly know for sure what happened. So to the person behind the Microsoft Coffee story, if you are watching this, thank you for this funny prank. And of course, thank you for the adventure. But you know how you can contribute to finding the truth behind Microsoft Coffee? Supporting me on Patreon, of course, patreon.com/nationsquid. You can also buy me a coffee. See what I did there? Yeah, it works. Trust me. A special thanks to my patrons and channel members for making this video possible. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and click the notification bell so that you never miss a future video.